considered a person who is in control, who controls all the elite, all his inner circle, and who is the guarantor of peace, and the only guarantor of peace and stability. Now, for many people, inside his own bureaucracy, it's clear that the emperor is naked. He cannot guarantee anything. He cannot control even his puppet, because everyone knows that Prigozhin used to be his puppet for so many years. And yes, he's not punishing Prigozhin. He's still in St. Petersburg. He spent most of that month in St. Petersburg. He was even allowed to come to Moscow to meet with Putin personally.
Is he, as far as we know, he's still in St. Petersburg?
Yes, it was revealed. It has just been confirmed that he was attending the summit, the Russia-Africa summit in St. Petersburg.
The subtitle of your book gets at a very interesting question that a lot of people have. I mean, everybody from Henry Kissinger to Europeans say they thought Putin was rational, he was calculating, he was incremental, and they did not, as a result, predict or think that he would declare war in February when he did. Why did he make that decision?
Putin is not as rational as some people in the West believe. He's very irrational, and most of his decisions are deeply rooted in his psychology, in his youth, in the people he used to talk to many years ago. I describe it in my book that most of his prejudice against Ukrainian nationalists is just because of his favorite novel he was reading when he was a young student. That was a detective story about a Soviet spy Stirlitz who was fighting against Ukrainian nationalists. So it's really very weird how Putin perceives Russian history, but at the same time he is part of his generation, and he is the part of Russian traditional historical narrative. Imperialist historical narrative existed in Russia. That's unfortunately the only version of history we have always had. And with this book, I'm trying to debunk the Russian historical mythology, because it's probably the most dangerous part of Russian propagandist narrative, because Putin will go, but for many people, all those myths would remain the same.
One of the things that people say is that Putin has always had, as you say, this kind of ultra-Russian nationalist narrative. Then COVID happens. He stops meeting with anybody, foreigners. He gets more and more isolated. He restricts himself to a circle of real kind of acolytes and courtiers. You had to quarantine for 2 weeks before you could even see him. And so maybe that also explains that he really got into a kind of hothouse of just these highly nationalist Russians.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's weird that during the COVID months, he has become even more obsessed with history than before, because after that he started writing articles about the history of Poland, history of Ukraine, and he's always lecturing Russians about history, but it's all false. It's all falsified version of Russian history. He has created some kind of imaginary empire, and he's trying to impose that point of view. And actually, it works for so many people who are not major. I don't think that it works for majority of Russians, but many people buy it.
There was an anecdote in the FT that Sergei Lavrov, the longtime foreign minister, who apparently was told about the invasion only 2 hours before, was asked, who is advising Vladimir Putin? And he said, I can tell you, he has 3 main advisors: Peter the Great, Catherine the Great, and Ivan the Terrible. So it's to your point about
Stalin.
History.
The fourth one, an important one, is Stalin.
Yeah, definitely. Interesting. At the end of the day, do you think his days are numbered in any meaningful sense?
Actually, the sources in Moscow, I believe, right after Prigozhin's mutiny, started telling me that they used to be sure that his situation is very stable and he might be there for years to come, but now they think that probably 1 year at least, because the situation is the system is shaky. Many people from his elite understand that he's not there, and they have to prepare for Russia after Putin. And at the same time, and he thinks that he underestimates all the difficulties of his situation, and he thinks that the time is on his side because he's waiting for American elections. He's waiting for Donald Trump to be back, and he's sure that once Donald Trump is back in the White House, he's going to be fine. There's going to be no war, no resistance from Ukrainian side, no support for Ukraine.
Deal with Trump.
Yeah, and that's the ideal happy end for President Putin.
Mikhail, pleasure to have you on, and best of luck. Your reporting has been fantastic. Thank you. Next on GPS, 2 prominent public officials, 2 powerful nations, 2 disappearances. What can we learn from these troubling events, one in Russia, one in China? That story when we come back.
The day you get your Clear Choice dental implants makes every day a Let's Dig In day, a Chow Down day, a Take a Big Bite day, a Perfectly Delicious day, a Love My New Teeth day. Because your Clear Choice day is the day everything is back on the menu. A Clear Choice day changes every day. Schedule a free consultation.
Why did we choose Safelight? We were loading our SUV when crack. Safelight came right to us, and we could see exactly when they'd arrive with a replacement we could trust. That service the way we want it.
Safelight Repair, Safelight Replace.
In your past relationships, you felt controlled.
But it's over. I'm never going back. Now that I have Sling.
Do you and Sling share a love language?
Live sports and news is a love language? Then yes! 1,000 times yes!
The live TV you love.
When migraine strikes, you're faced with a choice. Ride it out with the trade-offs of treating, or push through the pain and symptoms. With Ubrelvy, there's another option. One dose works fast to eliminate migraine pain. Treat it anytime, anywhere, without worrying where you are or if it's too late. Do not take with strong CYP3A4 inhibitors. Allergic reactions to Ubrelvy can happen. Most common side effects were nausea and sleepiness. Migraine pain relief starts with you. Ask about Ubrelvy. Learn how AbbVie can help you save. Sleep more deeply and wake up rejuvenated. With Purple's new mattresses, fall asleep 20% faster, have less aches and pains, and sleep uninterrupted. Visit purple.com or a store near you.
After Advil,
Feeling better?
on top of the world! Before Advil. Advil targets pain at the source of inflammation. When pain comes for you, come back fast with Advil liquid gels.
I am Christine Mann. I am retired from public health nursing and from the Army Reserve. My retirement funds allow me to enjoy what I love to do. As long as you can make an impact, why stop?
Black unscripted television launches superstars. RuPaul brings us into the drag experience.
Oprah was the pioneer.
See It Loud, the history of black television. New episode tonight at 9 on CNN.
Do you shop for vitamins at Walmart? Force Factor products powerfully improve your health, but they're also delicious, easy to use, and affordable. That's why Force Factor is now the #1 best-selling herbs and supplements brand at Walmart. Unleash your potential with Force Factor at Walmart.
I'm Martha Stewart, and this is one of my new kittens. Of course, I wanted to give them the happiest, healthiest life possible, which is why I choose Pretty Litter. We love this litter because it's tough on odor and helps keep tabs on their health by changing color to show high, low, and typical pH levels. Pretty Litter is also low dust. And whether you're a new cat parent or a lifelong cat lover like me, this low-maintenance litter is the game changer. Try it today. Go to prettylitter.com.
When Lila was ready to sell her ring, she sent it to Worthy, where they took care of everything and auctioned it on her terms. Then, Worthy sent Lila her money. You're worthy of more. Get started at worthy.com.
The Whole Story with Anderson Cooper, tonight at 8 on CNN.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Christian Faith Publishing. Write for a higher purpose. Publish with us.
Christian Faith Publishing is an author-friendly publisher who understands that your labor is more than just a book. Call for your free author submission kit. 800-455-1827.
Now for the last look. In recent weeks, two high-profile figures in two notoriously shadowy political capitals have gone missing, and their disappearances speak volumes about their respective countries. I'll start with the case of the missing Chinese foreign minister, Qin Gang, whose case I mentioned at the top of the show. He was last seen publicly in a slate of meetings on June 25th. This week it was announced that Qin was removed from his post as foreign minister. Ministry of Foreign Affairs websites were then scrubbed of any mention of him. Beijing is thick with rumors about him. Qin's disappearance and removal is all the more astounding considering that he was the protege of Xi Jinping, handpicked as the US ambassador 2 years ago. He then catapulted over more experienced leaders to become the youngest foreign minister of China in 70 years. Whatever happened to him, this episode highlights the opacity of the Chinese political system. Senior officials often disappear from view with little, if any, public explanation. Presumably, some of the secrecy in this case is due to the fact that Qin was close to Xi Jinping, and any investigation into him would reflect poorly on President Xi's judgment. But if Qin had become the victim of his political rivals, then it's a shame. As The Economist notes, Qin was clever and surprisingly candid with diplomats. He spent years studying the United States. He was capable of charming foreign dignitaries, diffusing tensions, and holding firm to the Communist Party line. These are skills Xi Jinping ought to value, and certainly not ones that all of Xin's rivals possess. Now that brings me to the case of the other missing person in another country known for the murkiness of its domestic politics. I'm speaking of General Sergei Surovikin of Russia, who was last seen in a hostage-style video last month as the Wagner Group's Yevgeny Prigozhin and his troops marched on Moscow. In the video, Surovikin, wearing fatigues but stripped of all insignia, pled awkwardly with Prigozhin to abandon the coup. The awkwardness perhaps indicates coercion. Surovikin was close to Yevgeny Prigozhin, who has called him a man who is not afraid of responsibility. U.S. intelligence officials told the New York Times that Surovikin had advanced knowledge of the attempted coup. The Times also reported that Surovikin was believed to be detained under questioning late last month. Though it's easy to see why General Surovikin could make President Putin uneasy, this is actually a disappearance that is bad for Putin and his immediate objective, winning the war in Ukraine. Surovikin earned the nickname General Armageddon from his time in command of Russian forces in Syria. His tactics are brutal and abhorrent, but considering Putin's aims, they are effective. He is known as a dangerously competent military leader. In October, Putin appointed Surovikin head of the Russian forces in Ukraine. He promptly withdrew from Kherson, built up Russia's defensive positions, and stepped up attacks on Ukraine's power plants. Now, to be very clear, I'm not praising the man or the Russian invasion of Ukraine, but these were clear-eyed, tough decisions given the Kremlin wanted an aggressive offensive. And for these efforts, he was demoted in favor of General Valery Gerasimov, who spearheaded an ineffective winter offensive that cost Russian forces dearly. Now, Surovikin is missing, and Gerasimov continues to run the Ukraine effort. As Dara Masakot writes in the New York Times, the current defense minister and Gerasimov, both of whom are willing to tell Putin only what he wants to hear, will continue to conduct the war in an inept fashion. For the sake of familiarity, the Kremlin has chosen to reinforce failure. It's the nature of a closed political system that yes men and political operators win out over competence every time. These twin events in China and Russia remind us of the virtues of an open and democratic political system, despite all its messiness. We often despair at the tumult of democracies. Look at British politics over the last few years, with its revolving door of prime ministers and constant leaks, resignations and recriminations. We cringe at the volatility of Trump's cabinet, his abrupt, much publicized dismissals of his generals and other staff, their attacks on him. It all seems undignified, like a soap opera unraveling before our eyes. But on the whole, it's a good thing. It is open politics, openly engaged in. There is no mystery as to why Boris Johnson had to resign. No one claims that Rex Tillerson left the State Department because he got ill. In democracies, we wash our dirty laundry in public. And the events in China and Russia in recent weeks show us that perhaps that laundry system is a key ingredient of
Meet the future. A chef, a designer, and an engineer. All learning to save and spend their money with Chase. The chef's cooking up first with her new debit card. Hungry? The designer's eyeing sequins, platinum. While mom is eyeing his spending. Nice. And the engineer? She's taking control with her own account for college. 3 futures, all with Chase. Freedom for kids, control for parents. One bank for both. Chase, make more of what's yours. Fun like this.
Don't you wish your phone looked more like this? Don't you wish your phone could flex like this?
Don't you wish your phone could fit in here, Suncha?
Pre-order now and get a free storage upgrade.
This or that, this or that. You do this, then you can do that. You can do this, then you can do that. You can do this, cause that's where it's at.
Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Get started today at Angie.com.
At Morgan Stanley, old school hard work meets bold new thinking. At 87 years old, we still see the world with the wonder of new eyes, helping you discover untapped possibilities and relentlessly working with you to make them real. Old school grit, new world ideas, Morgan Stanley.
Hey, get away.
10 years ago, we invented the Ring Video Doorbell for moments like these.
We found your wallet.
Your guys' garage is on fire.
And Ring security cameras for moments like these.
We got you on video. Where are you? Hi, cutie.
10 years of reinventing home security, so you can be always home. Learn more at ring.com.
If you have Graves' disease, your eye symptoms could mean something more. That gritty feeling can't be brushed away. Even a little blurry vision can distort things, and something serious may be behind those itchy eyes. Up to 50% of people with Graves could develop a different condition called thyroid eye disease, which should be treated by a different doctor. See an expert. Find a TED eye specialist at isitted.com.
The ADT Safety Days event. Get up to 30% off your system featuring Google Nest products. Get ADT self-setup with no long-term contracts and free shipping. Or let our security experts install your system for convenience and peace of mind. Call or shop online today to save up to 30%.
Do you ever wish that you had spoken up sooner?
I had hoped that President Trump would come around.
Is there still zero communication between this administration and North Korea? What do you say to people who are worried you'll tip the election?
The Source with Caitlin Collins, tomorrow at 9.
Do you spend hours maintaining your gutters? Save that time with LeafGuard's maintenance-free system. Call 1-833-2-GUTTERS. Mesh filters sit on top of your gutters, building up debris and eventually clogging. Then they need to be cleaned too. Honestly, your home should have been built with LeafGuard gutters. LeafGuard's wraparound hood deflects debris and keeps water away from your home. The one-piece seamless system is strong, 20% thicker than average, and built to last. Plus, LeafGuard is guaranteed to never clog for as long as you own your home. Right now, get a complete LeafGuard system for only $99 down, $99 a month, and $99 installation. You'll also receive a $100 Visa gift card with a free gutter inspection and in-home estimate. Damage from clogged gutters can cost you thousands. Never worry about clogged gutters again. Don't wait, you've still got time. Call 1-833-2-GUTTERS today. That's 1-833-2-GUTTERS.
I'm Alex Marquardt in Ukraine, and this is CNN.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me this Sunday. I'm Frederica Whitfield, and we begin with this breaking news. A bomb blast rips through a political convention in Pakistan. Police say it was a suicide bomber. So far, as many as 40 people are dead and more than 100 injured. Joining us right now on the phone is CNN's Sophia Safi in Islamabad. Sophia, what do we know?
Frederica, we know that this attack took place during a convention of the JUIF, which is an Islamist party in Pakistan. It happened in the north of Pakistan, quite close to the Afghan border, actually. And this isn't something that has had a claim of responsibility yet. The police have told us that this was a suicide attack, that the suicide bomber had about 10 kilograms of explosives on him, and he went quite close to the stage where he detonated his explosives. We do know that the death toll is now up to 44. The number of injured is about 123, with more than 17 people in critical condition. So yes, it happened a couple of hours ago in the late afternoon here in Pakistan. It is leading up to election season. We're expecting general elections to take place in Pakistan towards the end of October. So there is a sense of high security when it comes to political conventions in the country. These are political party workers who are gathered in this area of the northern province of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa in Pakistan. There has been an increase in militancy in the north of the country. There were about 80 people who died in the city of Peshawar back in January. There was an attack similarly on the police back in February in the city of Karachi. The Pakistani government has often blamed the Afghan Taliban next door in neighboring Afghanistan for being behind, for harboring these militants. We still don't have a claim of responsibility, so there is a heightened sense of security across the country and a sense of unease as to what was behind and who was behind this attack. Frederica?
And Sophia, when you say this was a convention or a political gathering, does it mean that people who are running for office are at that event? Is it strictly voters? Who makes up the... are running for office are at that event? Is it strictly voters? Who makes up the... Right, Sophia Safi, thank you so much for that information. Bring us more as you get it there in Pakistan. All right, an American nurse and her child have been kidnapped in Haiti. Alex Dorsanvi was reportedly abducted Thursday morning while serving in their community ministry. The two were taken from the organization's campus near Port-au-Prince, according to El Roy's Haiti's website. Dorsanvi is married to the director of the Christian Humanitarian Aid Group. I want to bring in now CNN national correspondent Athena Jones for the very latest, what you're learning on this, Athena. What more do we know about the two people who allegedly have been abducted and the circumstances?
Hi, Frederica. This is frightening news. We know that U.S. authorities are aware of the abductions, of course, and they're working with